Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariya or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 6, Book 60, number 381. Narrated by Abdullah. Regarding the revelation, truly he, Muhammad, did see of the signs of his Lord, the greatest. 53.18. The Prophet saw a green screen covering the horizon. Volume 6, Book 60, number 382. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. Regarding his statement about the Lat and the Uzza. Lat was originally a man who used to mix soik for the pilgrim. Volume 6, Book 60, number 383. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. Allah's apostle said, whomever takes an oath in which he mentions Lat and Uzza, forgetfully, should say, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and whoever says to his companion, come along, let us gamble, must give alms, as an expiation. Volume 6, Book 60, number 384. Narrated by Urwa. I asked Aisha, regarding the sigh between As-Safa and Al-Marwa. She said, out of reverence to the idol Manat which was placed in Al-Mushallal, those who used to assume Iram in its name, used not to perform sigh between As-Safa and Al-Marwa, so Allah revealed, verily, the As-Safa and Al-Marwa, two mountains at Mecca, are among the symbols of Allah. 2.158. Thereupon, Allah's apostle and the Muslims used to perform sa'i between them. Sufyan said, the idol, Manat, was at Al-Mushallal in Qudid. Aisha added, the verse was revealed in connection with the answer. They and the tribe of Ghassan used to assume Ram in the name of Manat before they embraced Islam. Aisha added, there were men from the Ansar who used to assume Ram in the name of Manat, which was an idol between Mecca and Medina. They said, O Allah's apostle, we used not to perform the tawaf, sa'i, between As-Safa and Al-Marwa out of reverence to Manat. Volume 6, Book 60, number 385. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. The Prophet performed a prostration when he finished reciting Surah An-Najm, and all the Muslims and pagans and jinns and human beings prostrated along with him. Volume 6, Book 60, number 386. Narrated by Abdullah. The first surah in which a prostration was mentioned was Surah An-Najm, the star. Allah's apostle prostrated while reciting it, and everybody behind him prostrated except a man whom I saw taking a handful of dust in his hand and prostrated on it. Later I saw that man killed as an infidel, and he was Umayyah bin Khalaf. Volume 6, Book 60, number 387. Narrated by Ibn Masud. During the lifetime of Allah's apostle, the moon was split into two parts. One part remained over the mountain, and the other part went beyond the mountain. On that, Allah's apostle said, witness this miracle. Volume 6, Book 60, number 388. Narrated by Abdullah. The moon was cleft asunder while we were in the company of the Prophet, and it became two parts. The Prophet said, witness, witness, this miracle. Volume 6, Book 60, number 389. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. The moon was cleft asunder during the lifetime of the Prophet. Volume 6, Book 60, number 390. Narrated by Anas. The people of Mecca asked the Prophet to show them a sign, miracle. So he showed them the miracle of the cleaving of the moon. Volume 6, Book 60, number 391. Narrated by Anas. The moon was cleft asunder into two parts. Volume 6, Book 60, number 392. Narrated by Abdullah bin Masud. The Prophet used to recite, Fahal min Madakir, then is there any that will receive admonition? Volume 6, Book 60, number 393. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet used to recite, "Is there any that remember? And a furious wind, plucking out men, as if they were uprooted stems of palm trees, then how terrible was my punishment and my warnings." 54.2021. Volume 6, Book 60, number 394. Narrated by Abu Ishaq. A man asked Al-Aswad, "Is it Fahal min Mudakir, or Muddakir?" Al-Aswad replied, "I have heard Abdullah bin Masud reciting it, Fahal min Mudakir. I too heard the Prophet reciting it, Fahal min Mudakir, with d." Volume 6, Book 60, number 395. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet recited, "Fahal min Mudakir, and verily an abiding torment seized them early in the morning, so taste you my torment and my warnings." 54.3839. Volume 6, Book 60, number 396. Narrated by Abdullah. The Prophet recited, "Fahal min Mudakir, and verily, we have destroyed nations like unto you. Then is there any that will receive admonition?" 54.51. Volume 6, Book 60, number 397. Narrated by Abdullah. I recited before the Prophet, "Fahal min Muddakir." The Prophet said, "It is Fahal min Mudakir." Volume 6, Book 60, number 398. Narrated by Abbas. Allah's apostle, while in a tent on the day of the Battle of Badr, said, "O Allah, I request you to fulfill your promise and contract. O Allah, if you wish that you will not be worshipped henceforth." On that Abu Bakr held the Prophet by the hand and said, "That is enough, O Allah's apostle, you have appealed to your Lord too pressingly," while the Prophet was putting on his armor. So Allah's apostle went out, reciting, "Their multitude will be put to flight, and they will show their backs." 54.45. Volume 6, Book 60, number 399. Narrated by Yusuf bin Mahik. I was in the house of Aisha, the mother of the believers. She said, "This revelation. Nay, but the hour is their appointed time, for their full recompense, and the hour will be more previous and most bitter." 54.46, was revealed to Muhammad at Mecca while I was a playful little girl. Volume 6, Book 60, number 400. Narrated by Ibn Abbas. While in his tent on the day the Battle of Badr, the Prophet said, "O Allah, I request you to fulfill your promise and contract. O Allah, if you wish that the believers be destroyed, you will never be worshipped henceforth." On that, Abu Bakr held the Prophet by the hand and said, "That is enough, O Allah's apostle. You have appealed to your Lord too pressingly." The Prophet was wearing his armor and then went out reciting, "Their multitude will be put to flight and they will show their backs. Nay, but the hour is their appointed time, for their full recompense. And the hour will be more previous and most bitter." 54.4546. Volume 6, Book 60, number 401. Narrated by Abdullah bin K. Allah's apostle said, "Two gardens, the utensils and the contents of which are of silver, and two other gardens, the utensils and contents of which are of gold. And nothing will prevent the people who will be in the Garden of Eden from seeing their Lord except the curtain of majesty over his face." Volume 6, Book 60, number 402. Narrated by Abdullah bin K. Allah's apostle said, "In paradise there is a pavilion made of a single hollow pearl 60 miles wide, in each corner of which there are wives who will not see those in the other corners. And the believers will visit and enjoy them. And there are two gardens, the utensils and contents of which are made of silver, and two other gardens, the utensils and contents of which are made of so and so, i.e. gold. And nothing will prevent the people staying in the Garden of Eden from seeing their Lord except the curtain of majesty over his face." Volume 6, Book 60, number 403. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, "In paradise there is a tree which is so big that a rider can travel in its shade for 100 years without passing it. And if you wish, you can recite, in shade long extended." 56.30